So, good morning, everyone. I think this is working. That's fine. We do not have a recording today due to, Zoom, yes, due to a technical issue. So, for those of you who will be watching the service at a later stage, apologies, of course, but it cannot be helped. So, welcome whoever you are, with a faith or without a faith, with many faiths or none. And today, the theme is not strange at all. It's something which is very, very commonplace. And this is because it is International Food Safety Day. And this is perhaps one of the things that we take for granted. And I can say from the start that about 1 in 9 people in the world go to bed without eating anything. So with that in mind, we need to think how perhaps privileged we are to have food to eat every day, although not everybody does. So, let's have a prayer by Reverend Christine Hartman. She was the former Bishop of Newcastle, Anglican Bishop. Creator God, thank you for the waters of the earth, for the life-sustaining rains, lakes and deep oceans. Keep us mindful of how precious these are and how vulnerable they are. Help us to work together for clean water and for the sharing of it with those who have need of it today. Amen. And we're now lighting the chalice, as it is a custom in Unitarianism and a symbol of free faith and belief. And here's a blessing by Craig Rowland. As we light this chalice, may each breath remind us of the sacred rhythm of life, the pulse of creation, and the power we hold to shape the world around us. And a couple of quotes by Anne Frank, the first one. Hunger is not a problem, it is an obscenity. How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. And one by Mahatma Gandhi. There are people in the world so hungry that God cannot appear to them except in the form of bread. And that takes us to our first hymn, which is number 84, Justice for Persons. And without justice, of course, not everyone will have food. So if you would like to stand in body or in spirit, please do. 84, Justice for Persons, from the Purple Book, and the words will appear on the screen. Very well sung. Thank you very much. You may be seated. And now we move on to a short story to be read by Anne. And this is incidentally called Anne's story. And it is from the Australian Food Bank. So let's hear what Anne has to say.
The scary truth is it only takes one setback to push a person into the nightmare of hunger. It happened to Queensland mum Anne. She had a stable job and had so many plans for her young children. Through no fault of her own, Anne was pushed below the poverty line after suffering a serious injury and was forced to skip meals to make ends meet. The young mum suffered the loss of her speech and ability to walk. With no means of income and only a small disability pension, it was often only enough to pay for her therapy and medications. Whenever she could, Anne scraped together enough for noodles, Weet-Bix or bananas. Many times, though, she'd simply go to bed early to avoid the burning hunger or drink warm water to fill herself up. Not having enough to eat made Anne feel worthless. Sometimes I wouldn't eat for days, as I wanted to save what little bit of money I had left to provide for my kids during their visits. I was often starving, but my babies would always be happy, so I decided it was worth it, she said. Thanks to generous supporters like you, Anne received a knock on the door that changed everything. A food hamper was placed in her arms. It was overwhelming. In the hamper was everything to stock my pantry full. Things like flour, sugar, cereal, spaghetti, and tinned goods. Thinking about it still makes me smile, said Anne. As the cost of living continues to rise, more and more Queensland families like Anne's are experiencing desperate hardship and are struggling to put food on the table. We need your help to get food to families like Anne's who need it most. Getting help to feed myself has made me realize good people are out there. Some of the nicest ones are strangers who support the work of the food bank. It feels so good to be able to eat. Thank you, said Anne.
Thank you, Anne, for reading it. And we come now to a video clip, which is called a Global Hunger Crisis. How did we get here? It's about 3 minutes and a half.
Right now, there is a hunger crisis in nearly 90 countries. Food shortages and the skyrocketing price of fuel and fertilizer mean tens of millions of families are facing starvation and poor farmers cannot plant their crops. Women and girls who often eat last and least are simply not getting enough food. Pregnant women experience miscarriages, and mothers struggle to nurse, while babies and young girls don't get the nutrients they need for proper development. The causes of hunger are many and complicated, but we can stop it. Let's look at how we got here, why this hunger crisis is so urgent, and why it is so widespread. In the past decade, many regions of the world faced extreme drought and the effects of climate change, but severe famines were not as devastating as before. Then, in 2020, the world was dealt a massive blow. Within months, as many as 161 million more people were facing hunger, many of them women and girls. This number equates to half the current population of the United States. As if that wasn't enough. In February 2022, war broke out between two of the most important suppliers of food to the world. With Russian and Ukrainian farming and food production disrupted, nearly 30% of the world's grain supply was cut off. The resulting disruption of trade on Russian exports like fertilizer and fuel has caused the cost of food to soar, creating shockwaves felt thousands of miles away. For many countries, this has been the breaking point. Prolonged drought, conflict, the economic impact of COVID-19, and now escalating costs have made growing or accessing nutritious food nearly impossible for millions of people already living in poverty. Today, 345 million people are considered high risk for severe malnutrition. To put it in perspective, that's the entire population of the United States and 200 million more people than before the outbreak of COVID-19. Responding to those facing extreme hunger is critical. So is helping people on the cusp of malnutrition grow more food now to feed their families and communities. Even if the war in Ukraine ends today, it could take at least 3 years for food supplies to return to normal levels and prices. CARE is fighting the hunger crisis in every way possible, from immediate food and nutritional assistance for people who could starve to helping poor farmers grow more food right away. Humanitarian assistance of food rations, cash assistance, and treatment for malnutrition is saving lives. Through climate-smart agriculture, efficient use of fertilizers, and renewable energy sources for irrigation and food storage, CARE is helping farmers make sure there is a harvest. Combating this crisis will take everyone. CARE is making sure that governments are doing their part to prevent extreme hunger and grow more food for the future. Because without food, there is no future. As you sit down to dinner tonight, or pack a lunch for your child, please think about the millions of people who don't know where their next meal will come from or when they had their last. You have the power to support a well-fed future for all. Food equals future. Join CARE. Help us act now.
Thank you for watching it. And of course, it is not only extreme hunger, there is also less extreme hunger. And the numbers are even greater for that one, unfortunately. We come now to a series of 3 readings. The first, I have put them on there as well, but I know Sheila has provided copies very kindly. Reading 1 is, I think, by Sheila, and there is a copy there on the lectern. What is the root of climate change? So that is an interesting extract.
What is the root of climate change? And what is driving people? Materialism. Climate change is an outgrowth of materialism. It's our desire for money. It's our desire for what we want. It's the inability to discipline ourselves in places that we need. This is something we have to learn. And the first step is actually to overcome materialism and our own personal desires for as much as we want. We have to realize that we can't have everything we want, or we can have it, but it will cause a problem. We can eat anything we want, but you know what? Some of those things are going to cause cancer. You can take what you want, but there are going to be outcomes for what you do, you see? So we have to start learning about those outcomes, and we have to start being able first to understand the outcomes in ourselves and choices.
Thank you, Sheila. The second reading will be read by Delphine, and this is an extract, just a small, very short extract from the World Health Organization new guidelines on fiscal policies to promote health diets.
Right, this is from the World Health Organization. It's a bit jargon-ridden, I have to say, but it's basically on whether governments should intervene with regulation on prices for healthy food. The current food environment in which many people live, work and spend their daily lives consists of highly processed and readily available foods high in unhealthy fats, sugars and sodium. Many of these foods are heavily marketed, they're relatively cheap. As a result, consumers are often challenged to make healthy food-related decisions. They can't afford the healthy food. Unhealthy diets are now a leading global public health risk, contributing to non-communicable diseases, NCDs, including obesity, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, cancers. These guidelines do reflect growing evidence which suggests that taxes on unhealthy food, like sugar-sweetened beverages, SSBs, can lead to lower demand and consumption. Who knew? Inversely, subsidies for foods that contribute to a healthy diet, such as fruit and vegetables, make these foods more accessible and affordable, and this in turn encourages their consumption, leading to increased sales and positive shifts in consumer behaviour. So for governments, implementing fiscal policies based on these insights is a promising approach to nudge consumers towards better food choices, and it's possible to make the healthier choice the easier choice.
Thank you, Delphine. Thank you. And the third reading is Buddhism inspired. Buddhism emphasizes compassion and social responsibility in addressing hunger, advocating for justice and sustainable solutions to alleviate suffering. Buddhism teaches that alleviating suffering is a fundamental aspect of its philosophy. The Buddha himself recognized hunger as a significant form of suffering, stating that hunger is the worst illness. This perspective drives many Buddhist organizations, such as the Buddhist Global Relief, or BGR, to engage actively in efforts to combat hunger and poverty. BGR, Buddhist Global Relief, focuses on long-term solutions, helping communities develop sustainable food sources and addressing the root causes of hunger, such as economic inequality and lack of education. Buddhism encourages looking beyond immediate symptoms to address the underlying causes of hunger. This includes advocating for social justice and transformative policies that tackle issues like conflict, economic disparity, and climate change, which are significant drivers of global hunger. The teachings of the Buddha suggest that to solve problems effectively, we must remove the root causes. And now time for more singing. So this is now hymn number 216, once again from the Purple Book, and please stand in body or in spirit.
For
very beautifully sung, and thank you, and you may be seated. And we come now to our reflective address for today, the gift of food security, but also the plague of food insecurity. Food is among the most ordinary realities of human life. Yet, it is also among the most sacred. Every culture gathers around meals. Every religion reflects on hunger, gratitude, generosity, and justice. A table can symbolize abundance, community, and celebration, such as, for example, the traditional Shia Muslim celebration on Yalda night, which is on the winter solstice. But an empty table speaks of suffering, of inequality, and neglect. In today's world, food security remains a gift enjoyed by some, while food insecurity continues, as we heard, to plague millions. This contrast challenges humanity morally and spiritually. Religious traditions across the world call people not only to gratitude for what they have, but also to responsibility towards those who hunger. For those who live with food security, daily meals may appear routine. Supermarkets are stocked, water flows cleanly, and waste bins overflow with uneaten food. Yet, many spiritual traditions warn against taking abundance for granted. In Judaism, for example, food is viewed as a blessing from God and a reminder of dependence upon divine provision. Jewish tradition teaches that before eating, one should offer blessings to acknowledge that the earth's produce is sacred. The Hebrew scriptures repeatedly command us to care for the poor, the widow, and the stranger. In the book of Leviticus, farmers are instructed not to harvest every corner of their fields so that the poor may gather food for themselves. This teaching transforms food from a private possession into a shared gift. Gratitude without generosity is incomplete. So gratitude without generosity is incomplete. Let's turn to Christianity. Christianity similarly places food at the center of spiritual life. Jesus fed the hungry, ate with the marginalized, and taught his followers to pray, "Give us this day our daily bread." Bread in Christian teaching symbolizes both physical nourishment and spiritual sustenance. The miracle of the feeding of the 5,000 demonstrates compassion and abundance, but also reveals human responsibility. The disciples are instructed to distribute the food. Christianity teaches that ignoring hunger contradicts genuine faith. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus identifies himself with the hungry, saying, "I was hungry, and you gave me food." Such teachings challenge societies where excess and starvation coexist side by side. Hinduism offers another profound perspective on food security and hunger. In Hindu thought, food is sacred because it sustains life, and life itself is divine. The phrase Annam Brahma means food is God. Annam Brahma. Food is God, expressing the belief that food carries spiritual significance. Sharing food is considered an act of compassion and duty. The principle of ahimsa, we see that in Buddhism as well, or non-violence in English, encourages respect for all living beings and calls for responsible and ethical use of resources. Well, you may read that as not eating meat, but you don't have to. Hindu temples often provide free meals to worshippers and the poor, emphasizing equality and hospitality. The tradition reminds us reminds humanity that food should unite rather than divide. When some consume excessively while others starve, harmony is broken. African spirituality, as another perspective, also provides valuable wisdom on the issue of food insecurity. Traditional African worldviews emphasize interconnectedness between people, ancestors, nature, and community. Food is not merely an individual possession, but part of communal life. In many African societies, harvest celebrations express gratitude to ancestors and spirits for the fertility of the land. Sharing food with guests and neighbors is considered a moral obligation and a sign of humanity. The philosophy of Ubuntu, which means I am because we are, reflects the understanding that human well-being is collective. If one remembers the community if one member of the community is hungry, the whole community then, we must remember, will suffer. African spirituality challenges the individualism that often dominates modern societies and contributes to an equal distribution of resources. Earth spirituality deepens the reflection by emphasizing humanity's relationship with the planet itself. The Earth provides enough food to sustain all people, yet environmental destruction, climate change, and exploitation threaten this balance. Earth-centered spiritual traditions teach reverence for nature and encourage sustainable living. Food insecurity is not only a social problem, but also an ecological one. Deforestation, pollution, overconsumption, and waste damage. It damages ecosystems, it reduces the Earth's capacity to nourish generations and future generations. Earth spirituality calls people to recognize the sacredness of soil, of water, of seeds, and biodiversity. It reminds humanity that greed and exploitation separate people from the natural harmony necessary for our survival. The reality of food insecurity today is deeply troubling. Millions suffer from hunger, malnutrition, and famine despite global wealth and technological advancement that we see everywhere. Wars destroy farmland and supply chains, as we heard on the video clip. Poverty prevents families from accessing nutritious food. Climate disasters force communities into desperation. At the same time, enormous amounts of food are wasted in wealthy nations. About, I think there's 11.5 million pounds wasted from food from our fridges, not even cooked one, in this country. At the same time, enormous amounts of food are wasted daily in other wealthier nations, not just here, of course. This contradiction reveals that hunger is not merely the result of scarcity, but often the result of inequality and injustice, let's face it. Religious teachings consistently condemn such injustice. Judaism teaches tzedakah, the moral duty of justice and charity. Christianity calls believers to love their neighbors in practical ways. Hinduism encourages seva, selfless service to others. African spirituality values communal responsibility, while Earth spirituality demands respect for creation, all of it. Though these traditions differ in beliefs and practices, they converge on one essential truth. Food should never be denied to those in need. So food should never be denied to those in need. Reflecting on food security also invites personal examination, let's be honest. Those who enjoy abundance must ask difficult questions. Do we waste food thoughtlessly? Do we ignore the suffering of distant communities because it feels removed from our daily lives? Do economic systems prioritize profits over human dignity? Spiritual reflection requires more than sympathy. It requires action. Supporting food banks, reducing waste, advocating for fair policies, including fair trade, of course, protecting the environment, and sharing resources are practical ways of responding to hunger. So there are things we can do, of course. At the same time, gratitude remains essential. Food security is not guaranteed. Droughts, conflicts, illness, and economic hardship can quickly disrupt stability. Religious traditions teach humility in the face of life's uncertainty. Gratitude should inspire compassion rather than complacency. A thankful heart recognizes that blessings are meant to be shared. Ultimately, the issue of food insecurity is a test of humanity's moral and spiritual values. A world where some feast while others starve cannot reflect true justice or true peace. Just to remind ourselves, the Hebrew word shalom and the Arabic salam is about wholeness, all of it. Not just, health as in the body, but having food, having peace, having everything that we need in our life. Across Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, African spirituality, and earth spirituality, there is a shared call to honor the sacredness of food, care for the vulnerable, and live responsibly within creation. These teachings urge humanity to move beyond selfishness towards compassion and solidarity. And I conclude now, food nourishes more than the body. It nourishes relationships, communities, and hope. When food is shared fairly, dignity is restored and human unity is strengthened. The challenge before the world is not simply to produce more food, but to cultivate greater justice, gratitude, and compassion. Only then can the gift of food security become a reality for all, rather than a privilege for a few. So be it. And we now come to some music, a short piece of music, 2 minutes and 50 seconds, by Johann Sebastian Bach, to collect our thoughts. poetry, The Bread Line by Maya Anthony. This poem paints a scene of a bread line symbolizing the collective struggle against hunger and shared human experience. Read by Caroline.
Yes, when I saw that this was the poem I was going to read, it reminds me of how many of us say, "Oh, I'm starving," without even thinking about what that actually means. It's a throwaway remark. I grew up like many of you here, just after the war, when food was such a precious thing. You never left food on your plate, ever, because it was so precious. And I can remember my mother giving me a bowl of warm milk with bread, broken up in it with a bit of sugar, and I thought it was wonderful before bed sometimes. It was just so different anyway. This is The Bread Line by Mihas Anthony. The lines that stretch like morning shadows, faces worn by life's gallows, hands outstretched for a piece of bread, in silence their stories are read. Sorry, I've got my glasses on. Eyes meet in silent accord, shared struggles cannot be ignored. In the bread line they stand, a testament to hunger's hand. Each loaf a symbol of hope, in hunger's steep, slippery slope. A line that binds them in their plight, under the indifferent sunlight.
Caroline. And now more singing. Last hymn, 155, The Day Will Come. And you may be standing in body or in spirit to sing this lovely hymn. Thank you once again. And closing words, and then I will extinguish the chalice, and then more music. Hope continues uncertain and true, like candlelight, ready to spark again. All is not lost. A hope for a better future is more fervent than ever.